Welcome to Satsang, and especially welcome on this beautiful day of Gita Jayanti. This day of really diving into these teachings and this wisdom and this transmission, rather, that we've been given. You know, when most of us think about the problems we face in our lives, they feel very complex. Whenever someone tries to help us through them, so frequently we say, yeah, but you don't realize, but this. There's always this sense of a complexity, an enormousness to the situation that we face. Some reason why the solution someone may have suggested isn't going to work, and it's so complicated. And yet, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, standing in the middle of a battlefield, Bhagavan Krishna spoke 700 simple verses that have covered literally every problem we can face. No matter what your walk of life may be, no matter what your particular karmic package or karmic journey may be, no matter what it is you face in life, inevitably, the Gita has the answer. Inevitably, whenever you're looking for some kind of guidance, it's always there in the Gita. And so, I mean, it's something I talk about all the time. But today is really just a very special day to realize that we've been given kind of this handbook, because otherwise here we are on planet Earth, not really knowing how to live properly. You know, we have this one says this one says that, this says this, but really not being given something that just cuts through every border and boundary and wall of culture, society, family, this, that. And the Gita really is this kind of just guidebook to life, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're facing. So, a very, very happy Gita Jayanti to everybody. And as always, we start satsang with a question that's come in advance from our global family joining us through this gift of technology online, whether on social media or websites or different places, and sending in questions. So we begin with one from them, and then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. And there's a mic right here, so feel free, if you have any questions, to just come to the mic, share your name and your question, and don't be shy. I have so many people send me messages afterwards or emails afterwards, or things come that say, I was in satsang, but I was too shy, I was too embarrassed to raise my hand. And this is it's a safe space. That's what satsang means. It's a container for all of us together to dive as deeply as we can. And that only happens based on how open you are. So I'll begin with one of these and then we open it up. I've been going through a depressed phase. I don't have any work in hand. I feel lonely a lot these days. I don't have many friends. I feel unhappy every day. I have lost interest in all of the activities of life. This is asked by Nishant. Well, Nishant has hit upon two really important aspects of fulfillment in life: meaningful work and a close community. Minus meaningful work, minus a close community, it's really hard to stay anchored and grounded in joy. Now, the work, he says, I don't have any work at hand. There's two different types of work. One is simply that which we do to put food on the table. It may or may not be meaningful. But the meaning doesn't always have to arise from the work itself. The meaning may arise from the people for whom you are doing the work. All over the world, innumerable people do menial, manual, unskilled work to feed their families. That's beautiful. It's not that necessarily they're going to find such deep meaning in the particular work, whether they're waiting tables or filing things or pumping gas or, making the pavement or painting walls or cleaning houses, whatever it may be. The meaning arises, in this case, in I'm doing it because I need to eat. I'm doing it because I need to feed my family. I'm doing it because I don't want to be a beggar. And in that case, it's really important to realize that there's no job that's beneath you. A lot of people end up not working because they can't find a job that feels worthy of them. And so they end up taking money from others, whether it's their parents, whether it's handouts from others, whatever it may be. And there's a beautiful poem by Khalil Gibran that speaks about work and the power of work and the importance of doing work happily, whatever it is, from the most menial, but doing it with gratitude for the opportunity to do it. So to Nishant, what I would say is, find any work. Don't wait for it to be something that feels like it's your passion or your purpose or in alignment with your highest potential. Just do something. But keep your eyes open, of course. Keep your ears open. Constantly be looking for things that might be more fulfilling. But don't allow yourself to not do. Khalil Gibran says really beautifully, if you cannot work without bitterness, it's better that you sit in front of the temple and hold out your hand begging for food from those who are able to work with gratitude. That doing work with bitterness is worse than being a beggar. So whatever you do, do it with the gratitude of the opportunity to do it. Taking up your duty to take care of yourself, take care of your family. But of course, if it doesn't feel worthy of your potential, by all means, keep your eyes open and look for a different option. But the other aspect of work is from a spiritual level, in which it may not necessarily be something that pays us, but work becomes then everything that we do. Karma yoga, quite literally. So I was saying in Arati, this make your work your worship. So the Bhagavad Gita is so clear, let whatever you do be your worship. Whether you're getting paid for it or not. It could be in your job. It could be while you're grocery shopping. It could be washing dishes. It could be preparing dinner. It could be painting a wall. It could be changing a diaper. It could be filing. It could be stuffing envelopes. It could be the most menial. But allow that work to be your worship. Do it in such a way that every single thing you do is done as an offering to the divine. And what that does is, first of all, it makes those 8 hours a day of the clocked in work week much, much more enjoyable, because then it's not necessarily about data entry or filing or whatever you're doing that feels really boring and awful, but it becomes actually your spiritual practice. Allow whatever you do to be an offering to the divine. And do it, as Bhagavan Krishna says, Mamnu Smardi Yudhyacha. Remember me and fight the war. Do your duty, do your work, but remember me. Means stay constantly anchored in the divine. It's not, oh, I have to do this particular work which makes me feel fulfilled, and this is drudgery. But how can everything be worship? You know, for me, the most potent example of that is the example of Shabari, sweeping the floors. To most people, sweeping is kind of drudgery. Very few people like the sweeping. It's sort of relegated to either those who don't hire someone else to do it, or they're kind of the lowest on the totem pole. They're the ones stuck with the sweeping. But for her, sweeping is her puja. Sweeping is her worship, because, oh my God, Bhagwan Ram is going to come, and who knows which pathway he's going to come from. This road, that road, this road. So she sweeps them all every day. And he shows up. Not because the pathway is clean, but because her heart is clean. Not because the pathway has been swept, but that by sweeping the pathway, she has swept her heart. So allow whatever you do to be that worship. And then in terms of the loneliness, the best way to not be lonely is to be a good friend to others. Don't wait for others to be a good friend to you. Be a good friend to others. Just reach out. It can be co-workers, colleagues, neighbors, strangers, animals, trees. But let yourself reach out with what you have. Share what you have with others. You don't need 100 good friends. You just need a couple. But in order to not be lonely, you have to be prepared and willing to be vulnerable, to share your heart, to open yourself. And as we close and as we hide and as we contract and as we live in these curated realities and curated identities online, we have more and more quote-unquote friends and fewer people to take a walk with, have a cup of coffee with, to cry on someone's shoulder. Because we're living behind this veil of a curated identity. And this is why it's so important to get off the screen and into real world in your relationships. Because it doesn't matter how many followers you have or how many likes you have, millions of them will never take the place of 2 or 3 people to whom you can actually open your heart, with whom you can actually take a walk or have a cup of coffee or have a hug. But don't wait for people to become good friends. Don't wait for the universe to drop friends in your lap. Ask yourself, how can I be a friend? Who needs a friend? Instead of saying, I need a friend, why doesn't the universe give me one? Look around and ask yourself, who needs a friend? And then step up, show up. Be the friend to that person, or that animal, or that tree. And give that love from your heart. And what you'll find is the loneliness dissipates. Yeah, beautiful questions. Other questions that anyone here has? Yes, of course, just come. To share your name and where you're from and your question.
Thank you, Sadhviji. It's nice to be here with you again. My name is Jess.
I'm sorry?
My name is Jess.
Wonderful.
And I was wondering, what advice would you have for a soon-to-be parent?
Advice for a soon-to-be parent. Recognize that your life as you know it is over. Really. Every bit of how you are currently living that you try to hold on to is going to be an exercise in frustration. And I don't say that in a bad way, it's a beautiful way. But just recognize when that baby comes, your life as you know it ends. At least for the next decade and a half. And that your attachment to how things were, or what you thought, or what you wanted, or what you needed, that attachment itself is what's going to cause misery. Allow yourself to trust fall into the presence of the Divine Mother, because that's what you're channeling. And instead of trying to hold on to like, well, this was what I did, and this was my morning routine, and this was my schedule, and this is what I... Just trust fall into her arms and let her flow through you. One of my favorite teachings on this is from BKS Iyengarji, the very, very renowned sage of yoga who brought forth the whole lineage of Iyengar yoga. And Iyengar yoga, compared to other lineages of yoga, is one in which there's an enormous emphasis on self-practice daily that is quite long. Other practices are kind of content to say, yeah, do a few rounds of Surya Namaskar, do a couple of pranayams, and in 15 minutes you can be done. Iyengar yoga teachers and practitioners are much, much more likely to practice an hour and a half, 2 hours, to have extended daily practices, and for that to be really emphasized by the teachers. And there was a question and answer session. I was not there, but I heard about it from my teacher, who was very, very close to Iyengarji. And in the question and answer, a brand new mother said to him, you know, I'm really having a hard time since becoming a new mother with my daily yoga practice, because this infant is just, you know, basically preventing me from having my daily yoga practice and what to do. And he said to her, that baby now is your daily yoga practice. So let your mindset shift and open into that. It's a world that you've never imagined, you've never expected. And the more open you are to it, the more it's going to flow beautifully through you. And just allow yourself to melt and merge into it. And the only critical piece of parenting from very, very, very early childhood that I would give you is, in your quest for discipline and your quest to give good habits to your child. Never ever make the very well-intentioned but accidental mistake of letting your child think that their worthiness of love is based on what they do. As parents, and even really good, intentioned, well-meaning, beautiful parents, we tend to discipline and teach in such a way that when a room is clean, for example, we say, "Oh, good boy, you cleaned your room." Big hug, big kisses. Now, in our mind, that's a really innocuous and very possibly effective way of teaching your kid the value of keeping their things in order. It's a good sanskara, we would think. The dilemma is, the underlying message is, my worthiness of love and hugs and kisses, my inherent good boyness or good girlness, is based on what I do. Room is clean, grades are good, teacher report is good, I'm worthy of love and hugs and kisses. It's not, and suddenly I don't get those. Even if you're too good of a parent to actually ever spank them or hit them or call them names, surely you're not saying, "Oh, you got an F on the exam, I love you so much, come and sit in my lap and let me hug you." At the bare minimum, there is a withdrawal of love. Oh, you failed? Okay. Study better next time. But it's a face from which the love has drained out. Never let your child see that face. Discipline them, by all means. Teach them. But teach them using carrots and sticks that have nothing to do with love and worthiness. Room is clean. Your things are put away. You get new things. You don't take care of what you have, you don't get new things. That list of things you want for your birthday or Christmas or Hanukkah or Diwali or Eid or whatever we celebrate, well, I'm so sorry, I can't get that for you because, see, all the things I've gotten for you before are ruined because you leave them outside in the rain. You leave them in the living room for the dog to chew on them. You don't take care of them. When you learn to take care of your things, then I will buy you new things. But the love is consistent. The hugs are consistent. The worthiness of love is always there. Find ways to teach, to discipline, to help them form habits that have to do with incentives that are not your happiness or sadness, because that's the other awful thing we do to kids, is we make kids feel like they are responsible for mom and dad's happiness. Wait till your father gets home, he's gonna be really mad. Like after that hard day at work, now it's my fault that dad is upset when he comes home. I'm the reason mom is disappointed. I'm the reason dad is angry. That is a heavy burden to stick on the shoulders of a kid. Kids should never feel responsible. That's making the kids into the parents. They're not our parents, we're their parents. Our mood is not dependent on their actions. Because then, of course, all you teach them is that their mood as they grow up should be dependent on other people's actions. Then they grow up saying, "You made me mad." Like I made my dad mad, you made me mad. So from early childhood, those two pieces. Take ownership of your own emotions and find incentives to discipline that aren't love. The rest will flow naturally. The ability that you have to create life, when you listen to it and tap into it, will guide you through the rest. Beautiful. Other questions? Yes, come forward. And then you in the back. Yes, first her and then you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Andrea from Italy.
Wonderful.
I have a question for you. There are days in which the actions of the others have negative effects on me. And this negativity, I keeping it with me days after day and even weeks, months. So, is there a way in which I can get rid of this negativity, or should I keep it with me and embrace it?
Great. So others' actions, it depends. The good stuff, hold on to it. Things that remind you how wonderful you are, things that remind you that इसको बंद कर दे, कोई भी हो कह देना कि things that remind you that you're loved, hold on to them. Always remember them. Fill yourself with it. But the real stuff, not just like, hey, you look sexy today. Not the stuff about the body. But the stuff about you. Absolutely. But the negative stuff, it's an interesting thing about life. The positive stuff, the love that we get from people, is really true. We feel it inside of us. That ability when other people have to see the divine in us, that's something that you should always hold on to and remember that. But the negative stuff is actually something to let go right away. Because unless it's because you've actually made a horrible mistake, that you've been unconscious and unaware and really done something very, very hurtful, at which point anyway you know that yourself and you're going to regret it and feel badly and repent anyway. Other than those situations, the negative stuff is people's own projections. It's their own karmic journeys and karmic packages. And the last thing you want to do is hold on to that. You know, it's like someone gets food poisoning and you're too near to them and they vomit all over you. Well, go home and have a shower. Like, why in the world would you walk around in stinky clothes because someone else was sick? In the same way, when people are sick in their emotions, in their mental state, not necessarily in their stomachs, and what they throw up all over you is their anger and their grudges and their jealousies and their feelings of inadequacy or their unfulfilled expectations or whatever it may be. Take a shower. Best way. Clear yourself of things. Literally, a physical shower. If you can get in water, water doesn't just clean our physical bodies. Actually, the power of water is something that really feels energetically cleansing. If you can be in natural water, a river, a lake, the ocean, even better, just jump in for a quick dip. But if not, have a shower. do some deep breathing. Deep breathing, lots of exhalations, just, let it out. Let it out. Get it out of your energetic body. Dance. Do whatever you need to do to literally detoxify the physical and energetic body within you. And allow your mind to re-anchor through meditation, through mantra, through prayer, through listening to beautiful music, through reading poetry. Whatever it may be that reconnects you. But it's like you've taken on someone else's disease or dis-ease. And now the goal is just to get kind of the illness and the remaining stink off of you. And come back to your own natural fragrance. Yeah, great. Yes, in the back.
Namaste. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Shasha. I'm from the state of Maine in the USA. And there are a lot of people outside begging, asking for money. And sometimes I give money. Often I try to acknowledge them with a Namaste or a Hari Om. But I also feel overwhelmed, and I'm wondering how to respect their humanity and also keep my own balance.
Yeah, it's really hard. Really, really hard, But it's a good hard because there's so many like them across the world. But for so many of us in the cities that we live in, we don't see it. And so it's so easy to forget that that exists. And so I'm always grateful, actually, for the opportunity to re-remember how fortunate we are to not be in those situations, how fortunate we are to have such abundance. So for me, the process is severalfold. First and most importantly is, as you say, acknowledging that humanity in them and that divine spark in them. To really see them, because the easiest thing to do is to turn your head. Don't let yourself do that. See them, acknowledge them. Don't let them feel invisible just because they're poor and homeless. It's awful for your spiritual practice, and it's mean to them. So really see them on every level. If you have something that can help them, whether it's money, whether it's an apple, whatever it is, by all means give them. Typically, though, there's way more of them than whatever you have, and so maybe you're able to give to the first couple you see, and then you don't even have any more. And this is where that awareness of the suffering in our world comes in, and the spiritual path being, for me, twofold. Number one, to be able to sit in the presence of it, realizing and recognizing that this is also God, that part of the perfection of the universe somehow includes this which makes no sense and hurts so much, and it's all God, and my tears, my pain, my agony, my wanting to do something, my compassion, my initiative, my creativity, my resources, that is part of the perfection of the universe. So it's not that the universe is perfect minus you. So you sit with that presence, because it is important to be able to sit in the presence of anything and everything for our own spiritual experience, and you allow that which arises to be a catalyst for you for action. And the action may be immediate, it may be giving them some money or some food, or the action may be on a longer term scale. Building, creating, supporting, helping different charities, different NGOs that are working with people, because here what's in front of us is homelessness and hunger. And there's so much suffering in the world, so much homelessness, so much hunger, and so many other forms of suffering. And so we all have different abilities, skills, resources. Allow, though, the pain that you feel to be a catalyst to trigger you to serve in some way. And only you are going to know what the right way is. But just because you can't necessarily give money or food to them all in that moment, don't let your feelings of compassion paired with feelings of agony, don't let them subside, because it's very easy to kind of ignore it and then move on to something else and kind of pretend that it's not there. Recognize that the perfection of the universe includes the pain you feel when you see them, and ask yourself, what can I, with my ability, with my skill, with my talent, with my technology, with my resources, what can I do to make a ripple impact of some sort on the ways that people are suffering in the world? Because we all have that ability. So let it, as you see them, thank them for reawakening in you the reminder and the awareness, both of how abundant you are, because gratitude is one of the most powerful spiritual practices. And it's so easy to move through our life forgetting to be grateful. And when you see someone on the street, just thank them. I mean, on some soul level, they've agreed to play this role so that you can play this role, and bow to them in gratitude for re-reminding you to be grateful, for re-reminding you that no matter how awful your day may be going, your life is so abundant. And then allow that gratitude to just percolate through you. What would it be like to be homeless? And remember to be grateful for all of the aspects, whether it's the shelter, whether it's the running water, whether it's the food, whether it's the medical care, whether it's just the security, and how easily we take these things for granted. So let it catalyze gratitude and then action. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. We'll take your questions tomorrow. Kal aapki question se hum shuru karenge. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your evenings, everyone. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us online. And so much love to you all. And again, a very, very happy and very blessed Gita Jayanti. At least commit to reading one shlok of the Bhagavad Gita today. Doesn't have to be the first one. Open it anywhere with just that faith in the universe. And these days, even you don't have a copy, don't worry, go online. Go online. Just find any copy of the Bhagavad Gita. Find a verse. Read the verse. And see what it can teach you and change for you in your life. And so, so much love to you all, and I look so forward to being together again tomorrow.